I made like this long video on YouTube, and it kind of like didn't cut off, but I was still guided to come back up here and deliver the message. So I feel like for the collectives, a lot of collectives are coming out of this 10-year cycle. And I'm being guided to speak about the 10-year cycle, and basically like the 10-year cycle really being your initiation, like really being your dark night of the soul, like really being your transition from, if you're going to become the darkness in which you faced, or you are going to transmute that, or you are going to transmute that into light. So I want to speak on my 10-year transition and how I recognize that it was a 10-year transition. So in 2022, I moved to Brooklyn after facing, homelessness for 6 months. I have found this apartment in East New York. And in the process of me finding this apartment in East New York, I probably didn't even live there for like 3 months. And my doors was kicked in by my children's father. And I was being forced to move from ACS. At the time when I was moving or whatever, right? I had always wanted to live in Staten Island. Like I always had this thing for Staten Island. When I was coming back, I always be like, yo, when I come back to New York, I'm gonna live in Staten Island. Because Staten Island always had like this country, you know what I'm saying? It was like you was a part of the city, but it was like really country, like the most countryest place. So I always had, you know what I'm saying, this thing for nature. And I wound up calling this lady, right? I called this lady. She had a beautiful apartment. Apartment was just newly renovated, stainless steel, beautiful house, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And she had this beautiful apartment. And I called her. When I called her, she said, the apartment is not available. Somebody took it. Boom. I said, all right. So now this woman starts to call me about 2 minutes later. I know y'all got jumped straight into it. Yeah, because I recorded that dang video, but the message is going to message. But she called me back 2 minutes later, and she like, hey, she was like, somebody is interested in it, but, she's supposed to send pay stubs 2 days ago, and she never sent that. She was like, if you want to come see it tomorrow, you can. Back my mind, my ego, like, why you want to go see that apartment? Like, she already said it's for somebody else. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not about to go all the way to Staten Island. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm not about to go all the way out there. Like, you telling me you're going to get a lady apartment. I'm in Brooklyn, whatever the case is. But something told me, I didn't tell her I wasn't coming, but something told me to go. Something was like, make that move. Something was like, make that move. Make the move. Y'all, they got me for my mic. Yo, kids touch everything. Like, they got me for my mic. But something was like, yo, make that move. Make that move to Staten Island. So I kept going back and forth with myself. So I wound up going, right? And in this day, it was pouring rain. And my daughter probably was like 4 months old. By the grace of divine, I was able to get my cousin there last minute, you know what I'm saying, to watch the kids for me to go see the play. So I get on the train or whatever, and I'm on my way to Staten Island. As soon as I get out the train to get from the train to the ferry, it starts to pour and rain, like pouring, raining. And I remember thinking, yo, I'm about to turn around, and I could just remember feeling something telling me, like, no, you better take your ass on that ferry to go over there to look at that apartment, because that apartment is yours, and it's not going to be easy. But take your ass up underneath, get some protection from the rain, and it's going to pass, and you'll be going, ooh, black and orange butterflies just flew past me. If y'all know that. Listen, that'll be my confirmation. You black, that's all I see. And I walked and I went and got some shelter from the rain. And about a couple minutes later, the rain stopped. So now I walked to the ferry with my 4-month-old, whatever. We a little soaking wet, but we all right. You know what I'm saying? She, you know what I'm saying? It's a hot day. She's good, whatever. Get to the place, go to the house. As soon as I get to the house, now it's like 3 stories high building, beautiful. I can oversee the Verrazano Bridge, and I can see the water that I used to go to when I was sleeping out of my car. I used to go to this pier, and I used to sit at this water. I used to sit at the water, and I used to just cry, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just felt like the water was soothing me. And I had the ability to, that was the first thing. As soon as I walked in the house, I seen that from my living room. I'm like, yo, like, that's the water, that's the bridge, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, wow. So as I'm walking through the house, I can already feel like it's mine. You feel what I'm saying? I already felt that, like, yeah, this is yours. Go to the back, the deck is all nature. You know what I'm saying? The environment was like Italian people, mansions. Like, you drive through the neighborhood, like, you're passing mansions. And it was like, yo, it's just this high energy. Like, this is real, like, listen, it was beautiful, okay? It was a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood, a beautiful, beautiful experience. Boom. So now this was in 2023. So now I remember sitting in my house one day. Now this is when I had moved to the house from Brooklyn. Now I want to break down the numbers situation too, right? So the house that I moved into was 28. It was 28. Now this is when I first started to really truly awaken, and it started to understand numbers, right? Because numbers have meaning and messages to it. And The first numbers I kept seeing that brought my attention to numbers was I kept seeing 1208. 1208, 1208, 1208. I'm like, yo, why do I keep seeing this number? Like, yes, this is my birthday, but this is something bigger than just being my birthday. You feel what I'm saying? So what I started to do was I said 1208 angel numbers. Boom. It was saying that I was going through a spiritual awakening, some type of level of spiritual awakening. So I'm like, okay, cool. So now when I move, now understand something. When I moved from Brooklyn to Staten Island, my address was 28. Break 28 down, that's a 10. Now, this was in 2023. So one day I had, like a realization that, yo, just 10 years ago, I was living in Staten Island and I had just admitted myself into the psych unit. I had admitted myself into the psych unit because I was undergoing something that I didn't know what it was. I just had my son. You know what I'm saying? I just had my son. I was preparing his first birthday party, and I remember just like feeling like my throat was closing up and like something was like I was gonna die. Went to the hospital, nobody could find out what it was. I went on Google, you know what I'm saying? I started to research certain things. Schizophrenia came up to be one of them. I was so invested into these things, and I was feeding my mind this shit so much to where I started to obtain symptoms. You feel what I'm saying? I started to feel like I was hearing voices. I started to, feel paranoid. I started to, have like feel like shit was telling me to like kill my son and stuff like that. And I remember I had admitted myself. Now this was in 2023. I spent about 7 days inside of the site unit. That's like a full evaluation. But I remember being placed with certain people, right? Certain people at this time and of me being placed was like little angels, right? The psychiatrist, she pulled all of this shit out of me that I buried within me. You know what I'm saying? That I didn't even know that was there in me. Like really deep, dark stuff. And that's like the first person that I ever really opened up with that shit. So once I did that, it was like, it kind of opened something to me. Then I had, other people, which was patients. I remember this one guy, he was a patient. And something about him, like he was like, you know what I'm saying? If you like a typical, oh yeah, these people are crazy, then you would have looked at him like a bug out. But something about him drew me to him. And I remember he did a reading for me. And he said, yo, this is not what it is. Like something about it's the people around you. It's the people around you that's like doing these things to you. You know what I'm saying? Like doing these things to you that like, got you feeling like, you bugging out or whatever the case is. And I never really understood it. But, that was in 2013. Now in 2023, that's 10 years. So now I'm like, yo, I'm at this place in my life where, 10 years ago, I didn't think that I was going to survive that. I was just in these doctor faces like, please, begging, like, I don't want to be crazy. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to be this. Oh, give my son up. Give my son to his father because I shouldn't be thinking like this. And it was like, yo, I'm in this place where now I have 5 more kids. You know what I'm saying? I've never experienced anything after that. Once I took myself off of certain things, you know what I'm saying? I never really experienced that. Understand something, right? I just felt like I could have destroyed myself. You know what I'm saying? If I didn't have like this power within me, like now that I understand it, you feel what I'm saying? Because it took me a minute to understand what it was. Because honestly, I feel like the mental breakthrough is really the spiritual breakthrough. Like now you know what I'm saying? That's what I feel like it is. Because I could have easily fell into temptation. It felt like, okay, I needed to, you know what I'm saying? Go outside of myself and could have just made myself worse. And it was like, yo, I'm sitting here 10 years later and I couldn't see this, you know what I'm saying, being 10 years, but all of the things that I've experienced. So I know that there's some people that's going to watch this video and they are coming out of a 10-year karmic cycle. And this karmic cycle wasn't only about your karmic. This karmic cycle was you, fighting against certain temptations, fighting against certain things within the generation, fighting against, more things than you could imagine, but you're coming out of this cycle. And that's the energy that we're in now. 2023, when I moved to 28 Pearl Street, that was a 10, and it was letting me know, like, yo, 10 years ago, this is a 10-year cycle, was complete. Now you're going through the rebirth. 2023, I also turned 33. That's the age of Christ, when Christ resurrected. That's when the Christ consciousness comes into play. Now I started to wake up. Okay, hold on. So I'm not those things. Now I can move those things energetically from, my field. So I can ascend, right? I just went through that karmic cycle. The karmic cycle was complete. I came out on the other side. I didn't change my heart. I always operated in love. That's what this is about. Selflessness or selfishness. That's the energy, the dark and the light. That's what this is. That's all it is, right? So somebody's coming throughout a karmic cycle and they kept their heart pure. They kept their love for people pure. They didn't try to do them wrong. They didn't try to manipulate and they gave outside of themselves, and they gave all the love that they possibly can to everyone else to come to this point where now I know that I have to love myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I was karmic for myself Oh my gosh. I was karmic for myself. That's really what it was. I was the karmic for myself because I kept going outside of myself. You feel what I'm saying? So I came to that realization. I got to tap into who I truly was. Here I'm in, sitting at 28 Pearl Street. Then, huh? So I'm doing something right now. After that situation, you know what I'm saying, I was tested. I'm gonna be honest, I was tested, and you're gonna be tested. You're gonna be tested a couple times to see if you still have the same temptations. And I was tested, and I remember bringing a person around me that didn't deserve to be around me because I knew better, but I just wasn't in the action of doing better. And guess what? Same situation happened. That door got kicked in, right? Boom. Once that door got kicked in, guess what? I moved to 25. 25 breaks down to a 7. 7 speaks about, you know, like spiritual guidance, like, you know, God energy. Like God, like 7 is a, you know what I'm saying, that type of energy. And I remember that being my test point. And I also remember, you know, spirit really coming to me and be like, listen, you keep dragging that situation on, you're going to go down with it. But if you leave that situation alone, you're going to be able to ascend. In June 2023, I want to say June 2023, I was able to make the choice that this situation was done. It was over it. Or was it 2024? I don't know, y'all. I ain't good with that shit. But it was like, you know what I'm saying, it was done. It was a done situation. I know it was the year of the eclipse. It was the year of the Lion Gate portal. I know it wasn't last year. It was last year. It was the year of the Lion Gate portal. That's when all the truth was coming out. And I remember that big eclipse coming out. And that situation, I stood 10 toes on that situation. I left that situation in June. I wasn't around that situation. I had transitioned to 25. And then that's when I really was starting to awaken. And I was able to start to awaken to even energetically pull myself from that situation, but also the other situations that led up to that situations. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to really figure out the hurt that was in me. I really had to, tackle certain things that was in me, that I was attracting these situations to myself. I had to learn how to energetically release certain things. I had to learn who I was so I'm not dimming myself or carrying around dense energy, you know what I'm saying, embodying that type of energy. So I had to do like a lot of work, a lot of healing work, you know what I'm saying, a lot of healing work. But even when I moved to 25 Bailey Place, it was like my mattress stayed on the floor and everything, and I didn't have the strength to like really fix the house up. It was just like I always knew like, yo, I'm not gonna stay here this long, you know what I'm saying? Because when I get into my houses, I'm big on like, you know what I'm saying, just like making them feel like a homie, you know what I'm saying, a homie thing. And I never did that here. It was like the ending of the month I started to paint and stuff like that. And guess what? Situation came out. This person, came back around, whatever the case was. Well, didn't come back around me, but came back around. Wow, it's the alligator just floating down. But came back around, or whatever the case was. A person came back around. He never around me, but around, period. And, I was put in a position to, okay, you know what I'm saying, now you can move. So it was just like that place was never that place for me, because I always, it's like my spiritual awakening, like as you start to transition and go into your spiritual awakening, it's like it gets better, you know what I'm saying? It gets into the energy in which you're operating at. So I knew that New York wasn't going to